In this video, we're going to see if we can't diagnose a grinding noise coming from the front end of this F-150 here. So sit back and I'll show you what's up. All right, what we have here is a 2013 F-150 with the 5-liter Coyote, and it's got 4-wheel drive. So this is my dad's vehicle, and as he drives down the road, you can hear a whining noise coming from the front end. So truth be told, I actually already know what the problem is, but I'm going to show you how to diagnose it and fix it as we get into it here. So this is what Ford calls the IWH system for integrated wheel hub. So the front axle disengages via vacuum when you are in two-wheel drive. So up here, there is a solenoid. Over here, this is a vacuum line that runs to the engine. You can see it runs up here to the engine. So the engine draws vacuum through this line, comes over here to this solenoid, and then this line right here runs down and splits and runs to each wheel hub, and there is a hub assembly there that when you're in two-wheel drive, that vacuum is on, and it sucks the assembly out so that the gear teeth don't engage with the gear teeth on the axle. So the axles do not spin when you are in two-wheel drive. When you put it in four-wheel drive, that vacuum goes away, the axle slides into the hub, and that axle starts spinning with the wheel hub, and then in the transfer case, it obviously engages the four-wheel drive. So what happens is on that hub, there's a diaphragm that starts to leak, and it won't maintain vacuum. So as you're driving, the hub is partially engaged with the axle, and you get that whining noise from the gear teeth humming on each other. So that could be a couple things, right? So it could be the solenoid not working, could be the vacuum not working, could be a hole in this line down here, or it could be the hub itself. So I'll show you how I diagnosed what this problem was, and then we'll show you how to fix it. So 1 second. Okay, so one of the first things I did is I checked to see if that we actually had stored vacuum in the system. So this, behind this plug here, is like a vacuum chamber in the back there that stores vacuum. So I just had my dad start the truck for a little bit. Now I'm going to try to unplug this, and we should hear vacuum leaching out if it's storing vacuum. Come on. There, did you hear that? Psst, that means we are storing vacuum. So that means the vacuum side is working, and that also means that the check valve is working, because the check valve is not allowing vacuum to go back, so it's storing energy. Now, I'm going to take off this bottom connector here, which is the side that's on the solenoid. Actually, first I'm going to have him start the engine and put it in four-wheel drive, and then put it back to two-wheel drive, and we should hear the solenoid click. So go ahead and start her up. Now put it in four-wheel. There, I can hear the solenoid click. Now go ahead and put it back in two-wheel. And you can hear the solenoid clicks. Yep, there it goes. So, okay, now I'm going to pull off this bottom. Whoop, broke her loose there. Stay up there. I'm going to pull off the top one, actually. And you can hear that we're drawing vacuum. So this is the line that goes to the hubs down there. So we know we're drawing vacuum, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and plug that back in. And you can go ahead and shut her off. I'm going to crawl underneath here, and we're going to do a test. So 1 second. All right, so here we are under the truck. He's got it running in two-wheel drive, so I'll just show you the issue here, right? So right now, when I turn the tire, you can see the axle is turning with it. Go over to the other side. Hopefully you can see that it's dark on this side. I'm turning the axle, and this side is not turning. So it appears that the problem is on the driver's side, not the passenger side, right? So that axle is not turning. So again, we'll show you how to test this. So obviously we're getting plenty enough vacuum to make this side disengage, but the other side not. All right, go ahead and shut her off. Okay, so I'm down here. I've got a vacuum gauge. It's It's actually a brake bleeder tool I got from Harbor Freight, Maddox brand. So this tool is actually kind of cool. So it can do both vacuum and pressure. So I've got it in vacuum mode here, where I have this little thing on the front slid forward. So when I squeeze it, it actually draws vacuum. So we're going to try to test our system. I'm actually going to go up top here first. I'm going to pull this off and I'm going to plug it. So we're going to test to make sure that our vacuum lines are in good shape. So I'm going to pull this off and I'm going to put a plug in here. I'm going to take you off camera for a second here because I can't do it with one hand. 1 second. All right, so I pulled off this top vacuum line up here and I put a plug in it. Now we're going to go downstairs. I'll show you where these go onto the hub. So that is going to be this line right up here on top of the hub. Might be easier to show you from the back side, actually. Let me go around here. Get some light up here for you. There it is, right here. So all you gotta do is pull that off. There's two portions of it. There's a bigger one and a smaller one. The bigger one is the vacuum side. The smaller one is actually a vent tube, okay? So I'm gonna hook up my vacuum gauge here quick and we're gonna run a test. 1 second. Okay, so I've got my plug up top. I've got the passenger side still hooked up, so now we've got our driver's side hooked up to this pump here. So I'm going to see if I can draw pressure. There we go. I've drawn it up to about 20 inches of mercury, and as you can see, it's not leaking down. So now we know that our vacuum line going all the way from the top, splitting at the T and going to each side is actually good. If the vacuum line had a leak, I would not be able to hold vacuum like this. Now, I'm going to leave this hang here. We're going to wheel over to the other side. I'm going to show you. You can see the CV axle there, right? So I'm spinning the tire, and that axle is not spinning. So this side is indeed good. Now, I'm going to go over there and grab the vacuum gauge. Plug the wire or the hose back in on that hub, and then come over here and we're going to repeat the test on the other side. 1 second. Okay, I still have my plug in the top, up in the top by the solenoid up there. I've reattached my vacuum line to the driver's side hub, and I've pulled off the vacuum line on the other side, and we're going to try to repeat that test. So here we go. I'm trying to pump it up. You can see I'm able to apply pressure to it, but it won't hold pressure, or vacuum rather, right? I'm able to vacuum it up, but it will not hold vacuum. So that means our hub on the driver's side is faulty. So either that diaphragm is wore out, or something's going on over there. So we found where our problem is. So I'm going to go ahead and put my vacuum line back on up here, and we're going to go ahead and start disassembly over there and show you what's going on. First thing I'm going to do is take off that wheel and show you what we got going on. So I'll bring you back once we got that wheel off. Stay tuned. All right, tires off. So here's what we have to do in order to get to that hub on the back there. So the hub is obviously back here. So we need to take off our brake caliper. We need to take off our ABS sensor mount and our brake line mount. We need to take off our upper control arm attachment here to the knuckle, and we need to take off our tie rod attachment to the knuckle down there. Then everything should flop forward, and we'll have access to our hub on the back here, which is just held on by 3 bolts. So I'm going to start by pulling off our caliper. Actually, I'm going to start by loosening up our mounts here for our ABS sensor and our brake line here. So we just have 2 bolts here, so let me grab the equipment and I'll bring you back as we're doing that. All right, we're going to start with our ABS sensor bolt here, which is an 8mm. Now, I did already hit these with some penetrant since we're in Wisconsin, so we get quite a bit of rust, so I don't want to snap these off. What do you mean? So I hit them with some penetrant a few minutes ago, and we're going to see if we can't ease that out. It actually came loose pretty easily, surprisingly. So we're going to get that bad boy out. Oh, almost there. Ooh, I hear turkeys in the background.
Really? Turkeys in the mirror, I don't see it. Oh,
Okay, we got that out. Now it's time to get the brake line mount. That's a 10 millimeter hide and seek champion of the world. Oh, there we go. She budged. Second there, I was worried I broke it. She came really loose, really fast, but we still got threads there, so we're in good shape. Okay, now those are loose, so just kind of leave them hang loose for the second there. Don't lose your 10 millimeter. All right, now we're going to pull off our caliper, which is going to be on the back side here. That's going to be a 21 millimeter. I'm not going to be able to show you that because it's, you know, hidden back behind there. So I'll get that off and I'll show you what we're going to do with the caliper in 1 second. All right, so I got my caliper loose and I've got it bungeed here up out of the way. Just bungeed it up here to the shock mount. Get it out of the way. Make sure you're not twisting on the lines or anything like that, but we should be in good shape that way. We got our line just kind of dangling loose here. Now our rotor needs to come off. It actually is really loose. It came off with my caliper, basically. So take that off and set it off to the side. Now we're gonna need to get access to our, oh, sorry, you guys are cockeyed there. Need access to our axle nut. So I'm just gonna take a channel locks here and see if I can't pry that top off, or that cover off. Oop, she's coming. Looks like someone's been in here before. That thing's dented. Whoop, that thing's dented right here, so someone's been in here before. All right, so there's our axle nut. That's pretty small. That's going to be, I believe, a 13 millimeter. Let's see. Yes, it sure is. Let's grab our socket. That's not going to have a lot of tension on it. I think it's only like 20 foot-pounds. I may, yeah, there, she came loose. All right, get that off. Whoop, fumble. Okay, we'll get him off and put him off to the side. All right, now we need to bring our attention over here to our knuckle. Kind of set you off over here. We'll do, actually, let's do the bottom one first. Down here. So that should be, let me see, what size was that one? 22 millimeter, I believe it was. Where's it? 21. 21 millimeter. Okay, so those are going to be rusted on there pretty good. As you can see, I've been hitting it with penetrant here, trying to get it loose. So we're going to take our impact here and see if we can't get it to bust loose. Alright, that actually came off pretty good. So set him off to the side. And now we got to get this out. So normally what you got to do is take a pretty hefty hammer and break up the rust, because that thing is tapered. You keep tapping on it, breaking up the rust. There is a little bit of tension on here, and she should pop loose. I'm going to keep whacking on there until she pops loose, and I'll bring it back once she does, so stay tuned. And there she went. Try to avoid pounding up on the bottom if you can help it. I had to give it just 1 or 2 soft whacks, and she popped loose, but the majority of it came loose from me pounding on the side here and cracking that all free. Okay, so that's loose. Last thing here is to get our, whoop, angle you up so you can see. Get our upper mount loose. So I probably have to use a swivel for that one. I don't think, yeah. I can't get my impact up there, so let me grab a swivel and I'll come on back. All right, here we go. Swivel engaged. It's, again, a 21 millimeter. Let's see what happens. The swivel's not functioning. She's off. Okay, so what I am going to do though is put our nut back on there a few threads, because once I pop this control arm loose, it's going to want to like flop on me, so I want to be able to catch it. So I've got a few threads engaged there. Where's my ratchet? Come on. Get a few more threads engaged down there, and we'll work on popping that bad boy loose. Okay. grab our BFH. Actually, this is more of a MFH, medium friggin' hammer. There she went. She popped loose. Okay, so now I can take this off the rest of the way. Oh, sure. Now we're spinning up here. I'm going to have to get a pry bar quick and pry on that just to put a little tension on it so I can get that nut off. 1 second. Okay, there we go. She popped loose. Now I can get this knuckle out of the way. And I can attempt to push my axle forward. Let's see here. This axle should slide out of here. Let me tell you what, I'm going to put the nut on there and just give it a couple small taps. Try to get her to move. She might be just slightly bonded in there. Where is my hammer? There, she's moving now. Okay. Come on. There we go. Okay. So we're going to want to slide our axle back. A little bit of a wrestling match. Oh yeah, you can see there's quite a bit of corrosion in here. Old nasty grease. Okay. Get him up. Come on. Actually, it might be easier. Okay. Just going to leave that sit right there. And I'm going to grab my... Oh, you can't even see what I'm doing. Okay. So, you can see I've got my axle exposed. You can see my gear splines here. Here is my hub. There are just 3, I believe they're 8mm bolts. I'm going to grab some penetrant quick. And hit those. Alright, where is my 8mm? Alright. Don't just go reefing on these right away so you don't snap them off. Oh yeah, she budged. Still, go nice and easy on the way out. If you feel it binding up, you might want to go back down and hit some penetrant in it, but these are coming out actually pretty easy. Now keep in mind the orientation of where this vacuum line is. You can see it's kind of pointed over here, like kind of straight up the top mount of the knuckle there. So, and try not to put a lot of tension on this ABS wire here, like I'm doing right now. We don't want to do that. Okay, there, she's loose, so keep her right there. Okay, yeah, keep in mind the orientation of that vacuum tube right there, so we can get that back to the way it was. Okay, first one's out. On the second one, that one actually came up pretty easy. Okay, and let's try the third one. Oh yeah, that one came up pretty easy too. Penetrant does wonderful things, people. Okay, now just gonna kind of tap on that to break its bond loose, because she is on there pretty tight. There we go. Yeah, she's a little crusty. Okay, we are free. All right, so there's our old one. Wow, you can see all the rust on the inside of here. Yeah, this does not move freely like it should. All right, so I'm gonna get you set up here and I'll compare the old one to the new one. 1 second. All right, so here's our new one. There's our part number here. There's our part number here. Genuine Motocraft actuator. All right. I'll put a link in the description where I got it. I actually got this off of eBay because it was cheaper than it came in a 2-pack for I think it was $87 versus going to a Ford dealer where it's like $120 for one. But this is a genuine Motorcraft part. So, anyways, here's our old one. Here's our new one, right? So this one, you can feel there's a lot of crust going on, a lot of buildup in there. This one moves really nice and easy. Okay, so yeah, a lot of rust in here. Here's the other thing. Look at all the rust down inside that knuckle there. So I'm going to go ahead and get this all cleaned up as best I can. Blow it out with an air gun. Wipe off all of the old grease from inside the hub there and on our axle there. And then we'll put in some fresh grease and get this new one slapped in there. So I'll bring you back once I get everything cleaned up. 1 second. All right. We got everything cleaned up as best we can, especially those sealing surfaces which you can see are a little bit pitted, but I got them packed full of grease, and there's a nice rubber diaphragm on there, so hopefully that seals up for us as we put it back together. But you want to get those gear teeth and everything all full of grease so that when the hubs, you know, slide together, they engage really easy and they got good lubrication. It's almost laughable the amount of grease that they give you with that hub. They give you just that much, and that's supposed to be for that whole thing. Ha! Okay. Now it's time to start putting this bad boy together. So let me set you up on the tripod and we'll watch the process. 1 second. All right, let's see if we can show you here. All right, so we're going to start by sliding our new hub actuator over the axle, getting it up as far as we can in there. Now we got to try to work our axle back down inside the hub there. So we should be able to push on that axle. Oh. Try to tilt her down. How did we do that? There is some articulation here in these U-joints, so... Oh, so close. There we go. All right, we got her back down in there. All right, so now we can put our new hub where it's supposed to be. Remember, I had our orientation of the vacuum lines run up the knuckle, so that's where we're going to put it. They did give us some new 8mm bolts with the kit. Let's see if I can locate those quickly. 1 second. All right, there we go. I reoriented you inside the wheel well, so hopefully you can see a little bit better. Here's our new bolts. I'm putting just a dab of anti-seize on these so that in case we do have to take this apart again, they don't get seized in there. But the ones that were in there weren't actually on there too tight, so not too big of an issue. Oh, shoot, I'm getting grease all over everything. Okay. All right, that's number 1. Dab of anti-seize on this one. No, a little more than a dab, but, you know, it is what it is. Apologize for the road noise. I got the door open because it's a nice day outside. Like here in the nature, all that sort of thing. Okay, number 2 is started. And let's get number 3 with a dab for anti-seize. That one's located on the back side here. Try not to knock everything over that I got sitting here. Okay, now, I'm already starting to look like the Tin Man. Let's get this one first. Okay, we got him tight. That one down a little bit more. Just try not to knock any rust down inside there as you're doing this. All right, that one's snug, not tight yet. This one, I'm going to take off my extendo. Our axle's in the way. Now I can go in by finger tight a little bit. Okay, those are real thin. You don't want to over tighten them. You could snap them, okay? Just snug. I don't know that there's a torque spec on these. There probably is, but I don't know. Okay, just snug so you don't snap. Okay, I'm happy with that. Okay, now we want to try to get our axle back in where it's supposed to be and get our, there we go, get our knuckle back up. Okay, you want to get that axle shaft lined up I'm going to get my bolt on there to start it, just to kind of hold it in place so she doesn't slide back out on us. Or nut, rather. Okay. Let's try to just get everything kind of set where we want it. Okay, so we're going to work in reverse order here. So I'm going to get our upper control arm mount in place. So I'm actually going to try to just put some tension down on it as best I can and get the nut started. Yeah, she's kind of she's under spring tension here, you know, just from all the rubber bushings and everything. So it's going to be kind of a wrestling match a little bit. But we'll get there. Here, let me get my light out of the way. That'll help. You guys probably can't even see what I'm doing here. Let me angle you up here. There we go. Get you out of the way. Oh, come on. All right, let me get a pry bar and pry up on that 1 second. All right, so I pried down on this just like that, and I got my nut started on here. Now I can go ahead and angle you down this way, get my light back up here where it belongs, and we can work on our tie rod. That one's easy. There's no spring tension there. We'll just go ahead and whoop. Keep bumping you here. Tight quarters on the ground. Get that one on here. We'll just get that one started. We want to make sure that our axle, there we go. Yeah, here I'll show. Okay, I got that one started, so we're good there. But here, I'll just show you what I was doing there. So my axle wasn't all the way through, so I made sure to rotate the axle so that the teeth on the hub engage in line, and it slid in just a little bit more, so now it's where it was before. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead, excuse me, and get our upper and lower control arm torqued down. Let me grab my torque wrench. I'm gonna snug it up first with my impact, but we gotta tighten those down to 85 foot-pounds. Okay, so let me go get my torque wrench and I'll bring you right back. All right, we're all set up. We are set to, got these snug down. I got her set to 85 foot-pounds. Come on, let's hear a click. There we go. Good, all right, get the bottom one. It's over here so you can see. Come on. That's got to be there. Let me reset my torque wrench 1 second. Okay, our control arms are all, or our knuckles all tightened up. Now it's time to do our axle. I'm going to need my extension. I can see that already. Again, that's a 13 millimeter. 20 foot-pounds is the spec. So we're going to just snug that up until we get to 20. It's pretty loose right now with this like a self-locking nut, it looks like. So it's going to take a second. Oh, I'm going to need my pry bar. Oh, can I do this with the camera there? There we go. 20 foot-pounds. Okay, that's tight. Okay, so I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and put my vacuum line on the back. And we're going to test this system here just to see if it's actually functioning or not before we get it all put back together. So 1 second, let me get my vacuum line hooked back up, and we're going to do that right now. It's right here. And we're going to try to test that system. I'm going to go over to the other side, attach my vacuum gauge, and see if we hold vacuum on this side. So 1 second, let me crawl under there and we'll give her a test. Okay, we're over on the passenger side. I have the plug still in the top, up by the solenoid. I have the, as you saw, the hub vacuum engaged on the driver's side, so we got our vacuum tester here. So let's repeat our test and see if we get any hold any vacuum now. Let's see what happens. Wow, there we go. Let's see. We're up to like 23, 24 inches of mercury, and we are holding vacuum. Look at that. Let's go over to the other side and see what happens. See if our hub turns independently from our axle. Oh, look at that. Our hub is turning, our axle is not. So we'll go over there and release the vacuum. See what happens. Now, look at that. Our axle is turning, our hub is not. Or our axle is turning and our hub is turning. I think we fixed our problem, boys. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get everything back together all the rest of the way. Put our cap back on our axle nut there, put our caliper back on, and put our wheel back on, and we'll go for a test drive and see how she works. 1 second. All right. One thing I forgot to tell you guys, before you put the rotor back on, you want to make sure you get all the rust chunks out of this and off of the hub so you have a nice, good sealing surface. And the same thing, I mean, this side's not bad, but the same thing on this side and the back of the rim, because you want that to go on there evenly. And since this is a used rotor, obviously we want to clean that up, and so it bolts on evenly, and you can get your lug nuts torqued down properly. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and clean that up with a wire wheel, and then I'll bring you back once everything's back together. 1 second. All right, we got everything back together. My vacuum lines on both wheels are back on, and I reattached up here, so I'm going to crawl underneath. Get my vacuum gauge out of the way. I'm going to crawl underneath, and we'll see that the truck is off. See that right now. Give you some light. Hold on. There we go. So, here, we'll just lay that there. Right now, our axle and our wheel turn together. Same as over here. Okay, go ahead and start it up. Give it a second to build vacuum. Now, this axle does not turn when the wheel does. This axle does not turn when the wheel does. All right, shift at the four wheel. So now we're in four-wheel drive, and you can see the axle and the wheel want to turn together over here. Axle and the wheel want to turn together over here. All right, shift back to two-wheel. Now we're back in two-wheel drive. The wheel and the axle do not turn together. Back to two-wheel drive. Wheel and the axle do not turn together. Okay, so now I'm going to get us off our jack stands. We're going to go for a test drive and see if that whining noise went away. So I'll bring you back once we're going for the test drive. 1 second. Okay, here we go. We're going out on the road. Let's see if we can hear any whining. So before, going about this fast, you'd hear this whing, 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 whing. I don't hear anything. If we go any faster, we got the windows down, so you're not gonna be able to hear anything. So we'll probably roll up the windows and then try to go a little faster and see what it sounds like. 1 second. All right, we're going a bit faster now, and we still don't hear it. Just drive around a little bit more. He's been shifting in and out of four-wheel drive. So before, you'd be driving along, you'd hear the hum. You shift it into four-wheel drive, it will go away. Shift out of four-wheel drive, and it would come back again. And again, it was like a wah, wah, wah type noise, and it was speed dependent too. Yeah, so we'll get ourselves on the freeway and see what that sounds like. 1 second. Here we go. We're getting on the interstate, getting up to speed, and we'll see what it sounds like. Right now, all I hear is that coyote screaming.
You're playing with power. I don't hear shit.
Sounds just like normal road noise to me.
Yeah.
I think we got this problem solved.
Nice.
Alright, I call that a success. That'll do it for this video. You now know how to diagnose and fix a Ford IWE system, integrated wheel end. I think I misspoke earlier and called it an integrated wheel hub, but it's integrated wheel end is what they actually call it. So, not a bad job. Took me about 2 hours all said and done, and that included filming, which slowed me down a little bit, so really not too bad. So hopefully this helps somebody out. Hopefully you enjoyed these videos. Please like and subscribe to keep this sort of thing going, and until the next one, signing off.